I think this is the best I'm gonna be able to get it right now. For some reason, the Wi-Fi in my kitchen doesn't seem to be complying well. But today, I am gonna be making lobster bisque in my InstantPot that is gonna be keto friendly. And I'm doing this because I have not had lobster bisque in a while, and as a New Englander, I am very much craving it. But I'm kind of doing this all off the cuff. I'm using some ideas that I've seen online for how to make things creamy and stuff like that, how to, without using too much cream, how to really get away with doing this as healthily as possible. And so, yeah, let's begin. So the ingredients that I'm going to be using and these are number one, obviously, the lobster, our friend here. I got this at a supermarket. I had them steam it at the supermarket for me, so I didn't have to do any of that here. And on this side of the table, we got cauliflower. This is going to be our secret ingredient for some creamy lobster bisque. Scallions for flavor, garlic for flavor, and celery for flavor. These are going to be in the base of our stock. I'm going to be making a stock using clam juice and water. I've actually never used clam juice before, so this is going to be an interesting experience. And usually, even on keto, you can use tomatoes. I can't use tomatoes. So I'm going to be using Frank's Red Hot instead. That's going to add the color, but it's also going to add a little spice to it, which is, I think, going to be pretty nice, honestly. And some butter. That's going to be add the little bit of creaminess that we can. I can't have too many fats. I can only have like 2 tablespoons of butter in any given meal. So, yeah, let's begin. First thing we're going to do is prepare our aromatics. Taking the scallions, cut off the ends, and slice thinly all the way to about here. There we go. Now we got a nice pile of aromatics with the scallions. And for the green stems, we're going to slice them a little bigger and at an angle. And we're going to be using these set aside later for a bit of a garnish on top of the soup. I need to sharpen my knife. I haven't sharpened it in a few months. And I beat up my knives. These over here. All right. Our next thing, celery. Very important aromatic. We want basically just as much celery as we do the scallion, so I'm only going to cut this like halfway down. Yeah, that should be good. That to the side with the aromatics. And finally, my favorite of the aromatics, garlic. Gonna take each one of these pieces of garlic and finely mince them. One. Gonna switch out studio mode so I can see what's going on in the camera better, make sure that nothing gets out of focus. Oops. People call me crazy because I cut garlic with a knife this big, but I like to do less dishes, so I'll rest the fingers. Now, keto can be hard, but the important thing is to know how to replace things. And honestly, the secret to that is use cauliflower for everything that you'd use a starch for. Anything potato, use cauliflower. Anything rice, use cauliflower. I've made cauliflower sushi before, which I can make that on stream one day maybe. I've made cauliflower pizza, which was not pizza, and it does not actually cut the craving of pizza, especially because my variant of keto, I cannot have cooked tomatoes, I cannot have caramelized onions. That's why I can do this right now, because these are only going to be sauteed onions. They're not going to be fully caramelized. Those sugars aren't going to come out. Yeah, cauliflower flatbread with, I had a pesto on it and steak. Do not make a pizza. Oh yeah, because I can also not have cheese, which is insane to me still, but hey, it's been working. And you don't question what works. Alright, we got the aromatics all set up. We're going to actually start off by sauteing those right now, because when we make our broth, I'm going to want to put the liquid from the lobster itself into the broth. So when I crack that open, and I'm going to want to put that directly into the InstantPot with all the aromatics. So I'm going to saute the aromatics right now, and then we'll continue from there. So I'll switch over to my phone camera so that you can see that. Let me just get this up and running. All right, now I switch to Droid Cam, and we're up and running. All right, so get a little of that fuzzy. I think that was a little bit of garlic. Okay, so I'm going to saute the onions. I'm going to use a little bit of the butter for that. I'm going to use most of the butter, though, for when I'm actually making the stock, so that gives it a more creamy texture versus when I saute it, that just ends up in the aromatics itself. So a little bit of butter. Go over to the InstantPot. I need to make sure that I didn't gear upside down. Gonna pull this out. So it's easy to deal with. InstantPot here. I'm gonna go to the saute function and start. Let that get going. While we're waiting, I can switch the camera over here back to me. There we go. And so yeah, while we're waiting for that butter to melt, I could go into a little more detail of what I'm thinking this recipe is going to do. So basically what was going to happen is we're going to saute everything. We're going to take apart the lobster, put the lobster shells at the bottom of the pot with a broth made from the oyster sauce and some water, and the Frank's Red Hot. And then we're going to put one of these baskets on top, and inside this basket we're going to put our broccoli florets. And then we're going to put that into the InstantPots for 30 minutes to let that steam all the way through. At which point we're going to take everything from the InstantPot, we're going to remove the shells, throw those away. Those will serve their purpose of flavoring the broth. And we're going to throw everything into a blender I have on the counter. And once we blend everything up, we're going to take the meat that we took out of the lobster, chop it up finely, and mix it in with the broth. And at which point we'll have bisque, hopefully. And if it's not thick enough from the cauliflower, I have a secret ingredient. It's called Xanthan Gum. Xanthan Gum is a great thickening agent, and it doesn't have really any carbs in it at all. And it's amazing for stuff like this. So let me just check the butter. Melt them nicely. Grab the aromatics. Aromatics go in. Now, as with everything, need salt and pepper. I like to put a little extra dash of salt in there, then just enough pepper that you just be able to see everything has a little bit of pepper on it. Mix that up a bit, and we can let that saute by itself for a minute. And while we're doing that, we can get started on the cauliflower. Actually, one thing I want to do is, because I've never used this before, I want to see what sort of ratio I'm looking for water to oyster sauce. Because we obviously don't want all oyster sauce. We don't want oops all oyster sauce going on right now. Come on. There we go. Stream again, just because I don't trust this thing right now. While I do that, gonna grab a little bowl, a littler bowl. All right, stream's still looking good. That's good. And oh, it's a pop time. That's interesting. All right. Where's my bottle? My bottle. Be back in a second. There's my bottle opener. Pop this off. Ooh. Definitely seafoody. Pour a little bit in. Pour a little bit of water. All right. How does that taste? Yeah, you don't need much to flavor it. That was about 2 parts water, 1 part this, so that's probably actually a good ratio for it. Something to fit in there, and something to fit in the InstantPot. A little too much. Alright. That's good. Now let's get the cauliflower going. Now I'm going to use about maybe a quarter of this head. Something like maybe about that much. That should be about good enough. Because we really wanted to cream it. We don't want to flavor it with cauliflower. We want the main flavor to be from the broth itself. I put this back. Don't need that anymore. And let's check on the saute. Ah, yes. This is exactly what we're looking for. Switch to the camera on the phone. Now, from here, if you notice, everything's starting to get a little bleached, a little less, a little more translucent, I should say. And the smell right now is exactly what we're looking for. So I'm going to turn that off for now. And let's begin with basically eviscerating this lobster. Eviscerating is the official term for it. It's perfect. Put that over there, and I'm going to bring this InstantPot with me. Because one of the things we want to do is make sure that we get any liquid from the lobster into this pot. So I have 2 different pots. This is going to hold the meat. Oops. This is going to hold the lobster and any juices. And we're also going to put all the shells in here. So I need a placemat for this because it is hot. Now, viewer discretion advised, when I eviscerate a lobster, it is not pretty. But it is efficient. I do love cauliflower, though. So, let's begin with the lobster. If I tilt this down and move it to the side, you'll see the pot right here. When I open it, I'm going to make sure that any juices inside run down into the pot. Nothing really came out because this is a steamed lobster from a supermarket. And now, let's start with the body, because basically all of this is going in there. let's get the arms off. And we're going to get the legs off too, because I'm going to show you a trick in order to get more lobster meat out of a lobster. And we're going to want this lobster meat inside the broth itself. I'm going to cut off these ends right here just because they really don't matter for what we're doing, and I'm afraid they might come off while this thing is under pressure. So this entire body, I'm going to crack open, put in there. These I'm just going to throw away. Now, let's start with the meats. All right, so put these aside. Let me wipe my hands so I can move these scallions over to the side. And for claws, remove the rubber band, toss it aside. Crack it open over the sous vide pot. Make sure you get all that good liquid in there. And for the claw itself, crack it. And this is a nice one. The meat came out right away, so we don't even have to worry about that. We then break it. And now that it's open, because we've got to get all this, all the actual shell into the pot, so the meat I'm putting to the side for now. We're putting all the shells in the pot. One thing I want to make sure to do is make sure any little bits like this don't get in, so that it doesn't get into the final blend part, because we're going to be removing the shells before blending it. All right, so like this is good enough to go in there, but like these little pieces, not so much, and this is for me. Love lobster. Crack the arm over it. No meat came out there, so that's going in there. Then we push out the meat with our finger. Should come out right there. Come on. Ooh, this lobster is going to be trying to face it, so we got to break it at the knuckle as well. Break that open, put that in there. A little bit of the meat. Take out all this meat, because this is going to be the good stuff that we're going to put in afterwards. And we don't want it blended in there. We want it we want chunks. And these should be good enough to go in and be able to be fished out. Next arm. Same process. Remove the rubber band. Break open right there. Another good one. Another good one, but I'm going to eat that. Crack the shell. Oh, this one's tough. I got a weapon for that. A literal weapon. Take this. That's all you do. Meat mallet. That's what the word I was looking for. You use the meat mallet. Oops. These are too small. I don't want to put those in there. Too small. Too small. And here we go. Exactly what we want. Make sure to get in the lobster claws. You'll see stuff like that. You don't want those in there. This one still has its in it too, so yeah, good thing I remembered that. Yeah, that's not something that's edible. Take this entire shell, throw it in the pot. Next arm, there actually is a little bit of meat in here. Not worth getting. Just gonna put it in there. That meat will flavor the broth. Open the knuckle. Push the meat out through the end. Put the meat aside. Put that in the broth. Next, in the broth, in the bowl. Tail. A lot of people use scissors for the tail. I usually find that unnecessary. Usually you just have to break off the end right there. There's some good meat usually inside these. throw those in the pot. Same one on the right side. That goes in the pot. These come off. That comes out. This goes in there. This goes in the pot. Tail itself, I've already got it kind of out. I just push down on the ribs on the inside, cracking those. Then you can just pull it apart. And this one should be able to actually, because it came off so nicely, just be pulled out the rest of the way. These go in here. Tie a tail goes in there. And we'll set aside the tail for later. But when we're cutting up. Alright. The legs. There's actually a trick to getting the meat out of the legs. If you have a rolling pin, you'll be able to do this easier than I do. I don't actually own a rolling pin. So what I'm going to use, the bottle of wine I can't drink because I'm on a keto diet. You just push that down, push it forward, and the meat should come out, though on this one it's not. That's disappointing. That's just going in the thing entirely. So then I'm just going to break it open a little easier. Ah, there it goes. So now there's this meat, but the leg meat I'm actually going to be putting in there, so that stuff's actually going to get blended up. I just want to make sure it's out of the legs when it does happen. I don't want to pull this out and this not come out of the legs. Come on. Too small. That one's already empty. There we go. That's a good one. Oops. Oh, decided to already come out that way. That was fun. This is a very accommodating lobster. The rest will go in there as well. All right. So now, let me wipe my hands first before I switch to the phone cam. So back to dash cam. And you can see here, we got all the shells in here. So the next thing we're going to be doing is making the broth. And one thing I want to find out is how much broth. Well, actually, I don't even think I have to do that. I just need to wing it. That's what I said I'd be doing this entire time, right? So let's pour in our clam juice. Probably the entire thing is going to be needed for this, actually. That's nice. And take this. Oops. Sorry if I've given anyone dizziness. And we're going to fill up the water to about like halfway below the halfway mark on this pot. That should be good enough right there. All right. Say hi to yourself. Now that we have this halfway full like that, we're going to take this mixture. Where's my fork? There's my fork. And we're going to scrub it around. Make sure everything's nice and mixed. Then we're going to take another tablespoon of butter. Throw it in here so that when it cooks, it melts. There we go. And frank's red hot. Just going to generously pour in. That should be good. All right, we'll come back over to the InstantPot. We're gonna put more salt in. Oh, it's a soup, so you want to make sure you actually have enough salt. That's one of the things. I'm going to give it a quick stir and a quick taste test. Make sure it tastes good pre-seasoned before everything starts cooking. Once the butter gets in there, that's going to be really good. And once the lobster flavor gets infused into it. It's got a nice spice to it from the franks. And this is the fun part. We're taking this steamer basket, we're going to put it inside, right on top of everything. So this means not only is this going to steam, but it's going to be infused with the flavor of it, so that when we blend it together, it's basically just only going to be used for the flavor of the food itself. All right, so that's ready to go in there. Put this up. And we're going to go for 30 minutes at high pressure. All right, while that's getting done, let's work with the lobster. Put away the butter. We don't need this anymore. Wipe down this a bit, even though it's just wiping away lobster for lobster. All right, so let's get our lobster going. Got my knife. Put a couple of cauliflower florets still on it. And we're going to want to get this nice and diced up so that's small but bite-sized pieces. Something like that. This is going to be nice, thick, chunky bisque. Actually, we probably want a little more because basically the size of the lobster compared to the amount of liquid, we really want to make sure that this spreads around once we get it into the blend. All right, so this still has some tamale in it. We probably don't want that in the final piece. When you're taking a bite, you don't want a big piece of that, so I'm just going to wash it off. All right. Lobster tail. I would say lobster claw is my favorite, but I would never say no to a lobster tail. Cut it up. You really don't get much lobster out of a 1 pound lobster. But that's the good thing about making stock with it. You get a lot more bang for your buck. All right, one more. There's another claw. Same situation. Nice and neat. Back over. And here's all the knuckle meat. So this is going to make a big hearty soup that's really not that many calories. We're talking about all the calories coming from the vegetables and this amount of lobster meat. The stock itself, the water really isn't going to have much to it in terms of nutrients, which is, perfect for what I'm going for. All right. So let's take this lobster here. I can actually pull up this big bowl now. Put it into this bowl here. We're gonna salt it and then throw it in the fridge. So good. And we'll just throw this in the fridge until we're ready to use it again. Oh, it's been done for 10 minutes. Well, at least we got the natural steaming out of the way. We can actually, just open it right back up. Gotta let the steam out still. Move my pepper stick back over here. I am very excited for this. I am very excited. I'm gonna switch to the phone camera. Oh, it smells good just as steam. I cannot wait to taste this. All right, we're back on the camera. Keep forgetting that has to be in portrait mode on this thing. But here we come. Waiting for the pin to drop. Let the pin drop. Here we go. Oh, I wish you could smell this. This smells absolutely phenomenal. Where's my oven mitt? I'm gonna grab my oven mitt right now. There you go. And back over here. Oops. Nope, we're still good. Oh my goodness. The smell is out of this world. You're gonna have to give this a taste. Absolutely amazing. Spicy too. Alright. Now we're gonna take this. Let's get all the shells out of there. And we're gonna throw this all in the blender. Back to the camera. Alright. Let's start off by getting this into the blender. Let's see if I can get a good view of the blender from here. Yep. Alright. So I'm taking the blender off. Taking this basket. And I'm putting the cauliflower at the bottom. Back to the thing because we don't need it anymore. Now let me go get the juices and we can remove the bones. If you remember correctly, we saved this bag here for all the bones. Now I think the easiest way to do this is if I pour this through a colander, and then I can remove the bones and then put all the solids back into the blender so they can get all blended back together. Need to get out of the dishwasher. So, still a couple bits of debris from the last time this was used, even though I have washed it. It's all clean, it's just, nah. Alright. So I'm gonna grab my oven mitt. Gonna take this. We're gonna pour it through here. Get everything in there. Now, with this, I'm gonna try to remove all the bones without losing any of the vegetables. Whew, it's hot. It's meat. That's that leg meat I want to be blended in. Oh no. Got a little bit of lobster on my shoulder. Dangers of wearing a white shirt while cooking. The robe can't protect everything. Alright. So that's all solids now that we can actually blend with. Put it all in there. Even the vegetables themselves taste so good right now. Now we're gonna take this and we're gonna blend it. Oops, there's actually a couple extra pieces in here still. Yeah, we want all that good stuff. This I'm gonna tie up and throw away. We don't want it smelling up the garbage. This is a good base though. Alright, move that over so you can see. Now we want this to be nice and pureed, so I'm going to actually go straight to crush. Sorry for loud noises. Now we can take this and let's plate. Now I'm actually going to be eating all of this right now because this has enough nutrients of everything I want. Do I have a big bowl I can serve this in? That's not big enough. I'm going to have to use a metal bowl. I'm going to be that guy. Perfect. So, actually, let's switch over. Let me grab the lobster. I'm going to pour that in here before I even pour that in, so to make sure that all gets nice and heated. Now let's switch over to the dash cam. By dash cam, I mean phone cam. I don't know why I say dash cam. Dash cam only. Alright. So we got our liquid here. Not the exact color we wanted, but that's because we couldn't use tomato paste, so this is more of the natural lobster cooked color. We pour this in. Oof. There. Grab a big old spoon. This is gonna be something I eat almost all of, if not all of. Give it a nice mix. Make sure that all the lobster is nice and consistently through it. The using the cauliflower to make the cream has worked considerably well. If you look, it's very creamy. It's garnished with the tops of the scallions. All right. Now for the final taste test. I want to mix it around. Get a bit of lobster, get a bit of scallion. Oh my god. It's so good. It is lobster bisque. It doesn't look like it, but it is lobster bisque. It tastes like it's just as creamy and consistent. The lobster bisque is perfect with it. This is amazing. Oh my god. And with that hint of spiciness, it's got a little more kick than a regular lobster bisque, and it's amazing. Absolutely phenomenal. The taste of the shells and everything with the oyster sauce and the clam juice it's the perfect dish to me right now. It's so good. It is exactly what I was looking for. I'm not going to eat this whole thing in front of you, but I highly recommend this recipe. It is phenomenal. All right. So that's my wing recipe for lobster bisque. Thank you for watching.